Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's Kara with Sit by Kara here. Welcome to our round two of a Cakers Roundtable live discussion on sound business practices and professionalism. We've got our original panel back with us today, minus Jay Qualls, because, well, Jay Qualls has his own show called Cake Crumbs, and you guys just need to go follow him because he gives us church religion on cake and all that good stuff. Well, not religion, but, cake religion. And we all need some of that to get our ducks in a row when it comes to business, cake business. So go follow Jay Qualls on Facebook, J-J-A-Y, Qualls, Q-U-A-L-L-S on Facebook. And check him out. He just put up a new Cake Crumb, so check that one out and all the ones he's done previous. And maybe we'll get him on here solo, and we can just ask him a bunch of fun questions. So, Jay, if you're watching, we want you on here all to yourself so we can just pick your brain about all fun stuff and have a good laugh. But in the meantime, I'm back, and we've got our panel back, so let's do some introductions so we can get started on our continued discussion from part one. And if you haven't seen part one, just click under the video tabs under Sit by Kara YouTube, and you should be able to see all the roundtables that we've done, including the one that included Jay Qualls where we first started. All right, let's get started. I have let's see, we're gonna go to Shannon Bond. Hi, Shannon.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us today, or again today. I'm going to tell us a little bit about yourself while I pull up your website information so people can see your work.
I have been doing cakes in business now for almost 2 years, decorating for about three and a half years now. Fell in love with the creative side of it and just an artistic expression. Really love it, really enjoy it. Love getting to meet all you people. So much fun to be a part of this community.
Thanks, Shannon. Truly, you have a lot to say, and I can't wait to hear you say it. So we'll come back to you in a little bit. Next, we've got Kristin Kirkpatrick of Fat Girl Cakes. Let me find yours. And tell us about yourself and how you got started.
I am Kristin Kirkpatrick of Fat Girl Cakes, and I'm in Virginia. When I had my first son, I worked at home and I stayed at home with him. I designed software, and I needed to pick a hobby outside of the house, so I decided to start cake decorating, and it just kind of blossomed from there. I've been in business for almost 6 years now. Next month it'll be 6 years. I enjoy it sometimes, and I don't enjoy it other times. It's become a job just like everything else. You have the high points and the low points. But it's been an interesting ride, and I'm finally, I think, in my groove after 6 years.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Kristin. And also, Kristin has her husband is the maker of the awesome bench scraper. So go check her page out and get you guys a bench scraper. On to Jennifer England of La Bella Torta. Hi, Jen.
Hi.
Tell us about yourself while we look at your beautiful pictures.
I have been in business for 6 years. I've always loved the art of baking, and my father was a sculptor, so there was kind of art in my life. But about 7 years ago, a friend of mine whose daughter was getting married said, "Can you make her wedding cake?" And I said, "Sure, how hard could it be?" And those are some famous last words. I didn't realize how hard it could be, and the bug bit, and I just fell in love with it and fell in love with making sculpted cakes and wedding cakes, and so it all started from there and just kind of snowballed.
Thanks, Jen. So Jamie Hoffman, hi Jamie of Yuma Katora Cakes. Tell us about you.
Well, thanks for having me back again. I really enjoy these. It's about 10 years now, I think I've been doing this. I've been baking all my life, but doing this pretty stuff probably about 10 years now. And I'm in a little tiny town in southwest Arizona. And it's an interesting place to do cakes in the summer, that's for sure. But let's see. Lots of success with my workshops lately. That's my latest area of focus for sure. That's been booking a lot of those. That's a new direction for me. I'm really enjoying that.
Oh, that's great, Jamie. So you do private lessons, right?
Yeah, one-on-one. One-on-one workshops.
Well, we love that. Get you a private lesson. So So giving a little bit about me, I'm Kara Bustos. Started cake decorating about 4 years ago, in business for, I would say successfully for the last 2. And I'm in Los Angeles, California. I have 3 children. Los Angeles is a tough market. There's lots of us out here, so I do my best. I still have lots to learn myself in creating and growing my business. So, but we're all here to share what we know so far with you all, and so let's dive right in and get started. Just to recap what we talked about last time, was about a month ago, and again we had Jay Qualls on, and he's got a lot to say about pricing, and so do we. So please listen up to Jay and any tidbits about pricing, and we're going to have Shannon talk to us about it too in a second. We also talked about when you should decide, when it's right to decide to move from hobby into business. Kristin gave some really great examples, so go back and watch that last episode, we'll call it. She has some really great tips into when you should then decide to do it. And one of them that struck me was know how to properly stack a cake so it's not bulging and tilted and falling off and supported. If you don't know how to do that, then don't go into business quite yet. We also talked about professionalism on social media, and maybe we'll talk more about that today. I know Jamie has a lot to say about professionalism, period, when it comes to customers, and what you say on your social media platforms is included in that. So Jamie has some fun stuff for us today. But we're going to go back and, and we also talked about proper licensing, insurances. Jennifer talked to us about that, and she's going to touch a little bit more on that again today for you. So we're going to start with Shannon Bond. She has got, in one of the cake groups that we all kind of help out in, she had some really sound advice, and she called herself Mama Bear. So we're going to ask Mama Bear to talk to us again and tell us why pricing your cake appropriately not only is good for you, but good for those like us who are really trying to make a living wage making cakes. So I'm going to toss this over to you, Shannon, and let us have it.
Well, in the last session, we talked a little bit about how grocery store bakery items are called loss leaders. And I wanted to go into a little more detail about what exactly that is and why it's important to us in the cake business. So by definition, a loss leader is a pricing strategy where a product is sold below market value to stimulate sales of more profitable goods and services. And a lot of times you'll see that they are strategically placed towards the back of the stores, so you have to walk past all the expensive things to get back to the loss leaders. So why do they do it? Well, the stores strategize if they can bring customers into the store for a low-cost birthday cake or cupcakes, you're also going to buy paper plates and napkins and balloons and ice cream and party favors. So the loss from the cakes is made up from the profit on those other items. So those are their leader. So loss is the cake and leader are the other items that they have the greater markup on. So how does this affect us as cake designers? Well, because grocery stores routinely offer low prices on cakes, the consumer does not even realize that it's priced below market value. So it becomes what is thought of as normal, or that word that we hate so much, fair, for a price for a baked goods. And so it also kind of breeds that notion that cake designers and true bakeries are overcharging, when in reality it's actually the opposite, that grocery stores are under market value for those things. So if you're selling at or near grocery store prices, you're taking an even bigger loss, especially if you're using fresh ingredients. all the time you spend sifting and measuring and prepping pans, torting, making buttercream, all those things don't apply to grocery store bakeries, but they do apply to your bottom line. And if you're not charging for the flour that you have in your pantry because it was already there, or boards or foil or cupcake liners and paper towels because they seem like little things, you're eating into your own profit, because all of those little things add up to be a lot of money at the end of the year or several years to your business. So the other mistake that a lot of people make is not paying themselves for labor. Minimum wage jobs, you know, we talked about this a little bit, how minimum wage jobs were great for teenagers working at local drive-thrus, but not for a living wage. My 15-year-old son can make more than minimum wage mowing the lawn, which requires physical effort, but not a lot of skill. So if that job can pay more than minimum wage, certainly decorating cakes with handmade edible decorations requires more than minimum wage also. And the people who are just starting out, who are not paying themselves minimum wage because they don't feel like their skills are good enough, really need to wait before they open a business. Because if you can't go into business for at least minimum wage, why would you want to do it at all? I mean, you can have any job for minimum wage, so why would you want to do a job that is physically demanding, which cake design is physically demanding work. It has really bad hours. You're up a lot of late nights and weekends and time missed out with your spouse or your friends, and it takes a toll on your body. And people think that they go into business, that they'll start their prices low and increase as they build their skills. But sadly, the people who encourage you to jump into business and practically give away free products will not stay with you when your prices increase. Those are the type of customers that believe that grocery store pricing myth and will follow the dollar sign to the cheapest baker around. They'll love you as long as you're working for almost free, but they don't care if you're up for 3 nights in a row making this custom edible topper that resembles their dog, and you're so sore and tired that you can't pick up your toddler. The dollar is their only concern, and they're really going to just drop you like a hot potato and find somebody else cheaper to give them their cake, and you'll have to start over with a new client base. So all that work marketing yourself and getting your name out there on these cheap groups, and let's be serious, those swap pages and garage sale groups, those are havens for cheap clients. If you think you're marketing yourself on those, you're not. That's where a lot of the cheap clients hang out because they want their prices as low as possible. And those people won't stick with you when you raise your prices. You have to be paying yourself a living wage. Not only is it hurting you, but it's hurting everybody else, all of us in the cake community. You know, we had an issue a couple weeks ago where one person had posted on their cake page about how overpriced bakeries are in a certain city. Well, I happen to live in that certain city, and I know that I'm not overpriced. I know that I am making a living wage on my cakes, and so it just continues to snowball that myth that cake designers are charging too much and that it's not really a fair price, but it's actually the opposite. And so when you start wavering about those things, think about the value of the time spent away from your kids, or the value of the time spent away from your family or your friends. You have to add up all the cost of ingredients, including your boxes, your boards, your insurance, your website, your business cards, all of those things to base your price on. And then you add in your living wage. And if you're not ready to do that, and if you think that your skills aren't good enough, then you need to wait before you jump into business. And I know that we're going to be talking about cheap customers later, but don't hang out in those places to think that you're going to get clients.
We got to move on, but you've had some really, really great things. Does anybody want to just chime in on what Shannon has said? Anybody wants to touch base?
I agree with all of it.
Somebody needs to transcribe that into text.
I think she did. I think Shannon did, and I think I saved it on my phone somewhere.
That's incredible.
Well, I thank you, Shannon, for that. I just want to just reiterate to you out there who are still struggling with pricing. if you'll go back to what she said, after you have considered your ingredients, including your website and your business taxes and your insurance and all of those things, after you've included those in, then you add on your actual wage that you actually want to put in your pocket or in your account. That's what you want to take home. You don't want to give that out to buying more cupcake liners or buying more anything when it comes to your business. So you have to figure that out. There are a lot of great programs out there to do that if you don't know how to do it on your own. I keep singing the praises of Cake Boss, and I'm not talking about the guy Cake Boss. I'm talking about the software Cake Boss. So look that up. But we're going to move on because I want to move on to Jennifer England. One of the things that has come up, we hear a lot, is that people, and it goes back to what Shannon said, people don't feel like they have the skill level to command a certain price point, so they're just asking for ingredients only, or the cost of ingredients, or donations, whatever you want to donate. And so we want to talk about why it's important to properly legalize your business and recognize that when soliciting sales to the public, even for bargain basement prices, donations, or cost of ingredients, you're still a business. And Jennifer, I'm going to toss it to Jennifer and tell us what you need to consider before you even start doing that.
Okay, so I'm going to start by saying that the laws in every state, and sometimes even within a state in different counties, vary greatly. So, and I am not a lawyer, so I would encourage all of you to who are looking to start a business to contact the governing body in your state that that regulates food-based businesses, and to see exactly what you need to do. I'm going to talk about my experience, and I will talk specifically about my area in my state. So when I first started, I made a lot of cake when I first fell in love with cake art. And I was a part of a large home church, and there was a lot of big families. I did a lot of birthday cakes, lots of kids. And it got pricey. And I understand the desire to recoup some of that as you're learning your art. But I would encourage you, if you want to learn how to make wedding cakes and you want to play around with decorating, I would say buy some dummies. Don't take money from people until you are licensed, insured, inspected, whatever your state requires, because it is my understanding, and I know this is true in my state, that even taking money for ingredients is considered a sale. And so it is illegal if you are not inspected and approved, in my case, by the Department of Agriculture of your state. So I started my business actually because I wanted to recoup some of the cost of ingredients, and lots of people wanted me to make them cakes, and I was happy to do it, but I wasn't happy to take it out of the coffers of my family's, bill money. So, but I wasn't going to do it illegally, and so I went ahead.
Jennifer, can I pause you, because I totally forgot to read our disclaimer, and I want to do that now since we're talking about legal stuff.
Okay.
So let me just read it out loud to you guys. This roundtable discussion is not intended as legal advice or a substitute for a formal consultation with a licensed attorney. Laws and regulations regarding the operation of a food-based business vary from state to state. We highly recommend you contact the government agency responsible for licensing and regulating businesses in your state before moving forward in the formation and/or operation of a business. Okay, just wanted to put that out there.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Jen.
No, not at all. That is incredibly important. I don't know the regulations in your particular state. And quite frankly, in my state, they vary from county to county. So I don't even know some of the regulations in another county in my own state. But I do know that I was unwilling to kind of to circumvent the proper channels just to get reimbursed for ingredients, and so I contacted my Department of Agriculture and went ahead and did everything I needed to do to become a legal business. And one of the first things I did was buy insurance. if you, Kara and I had discussed this previously, if you are making a cake, you say, well, I'm just making a cake for a friend. Great, you're making a cake for a friend's sweet 16. How many people are going to eat that cake at their sweet 16? I mean, even if you take any money for it, you are actually taking on responsibility for that. And so it's important to make sure that you cover yourself. It's important to make sure that you protect your family and your personal assets. I personally am an LLC. I am not familiar with any other form of incorporation, but it protects me. I personally hold a large amount of insurance. I am very concerned about that kind of thing because I do cakes to help my family. I don't want anything I do to leave my family open to any kind of lawsuit or anything that can kind of pierce that veil. They call it piercing the veil of your LLC. I don't want anything to be able to pierce the veil of my LLC. And I think also, and I said this in our last discussion, so it may be repetitive for those who watched the last one, but I think being willing to have yourself open to inspection, being willing to go through that process and write, in my state, writing out all of your recipes with flow charts and labels and the refrigeration times and everything for every item, it means that you are responsible. I think that being open to inspection just gives you a level of professionalism that someone who doesn't open themselves up that way just doesn't have. And I think it gives comfort to your customers, as it should, because you need to act professionally. They know that their food will be handled well, safely, and that they can feel confident in feeding it to their guests. I'd like to just say one thing about donations. You can donate a cake to a charity, but if you take money, it is my understanding that just because you call it a donation, it doesn't change the fact that it's compensation. And
Right.
unless you are a 501c3,
Right.
I don't think you can even take donations. So I'm not sure if that wording is used to kind of circumvent the legal channels of accepting compensation, but I know in Virginia it is not the case. You can't do that.
If one of
Oh, okay. So I was tasked with talking about professionalism with clients, professional correspondence, how we should act on our business pages, Twitter updates, stuff like that. So I will briefly get into all of them. And one of the things I find most important is keeping consistent tone of conversation with clients or pre-clients, customers, anybody inquiring about your services. I try to treat everybody the same, no matter if the request, is absolutely off the wall, or I can tell the tone the person has that it's not going to go anywhere. I am please and thank you, and how may I help? Thank you for contacting me. This is what I can do to help you. And I always leave the conversation open for the person to respond back to me, whether they want more help, whether they want to set an appointment, whether they say, oh my God, that's ridiculous, it's just a cake. Well, my response is the same. Thank you for contacting me. Good luck with your event. Have a great day. And I move on to the next. And what I see happening a lot, and I think the other girls can attest to this, is especially on the noobs page, is some of the cake decorators, they really take that seriously, and it hurts them, and they blow up about it. Oh my God, they hate my price. They threw a fit, And for most of us, it's like, so next. So if we're having problems like that, you got to go back. There's a bigger issue. If something like that is making you react that way and freaking out and not knowing what to do, there's something wrong with who you're targeting with your marketing. you know, in the ideal situation, everybody that contacts us for a cake is going to say, yes, please, when can I hire you? Take my money. And that's just not the case. So we learn who to target, who our audience is, and most of that is going to be happening through social media now. I have a website. I put a lot of time into that. I know Kara and Shannon, all you guys do. You guys all have great websites. We don't depend solely on social media, but it's very important to have a good presence there. And part of that, having a good presence, is having an attractive page. And one of the things, and I'll get some disagreements here, I'm going to screen share here for a minute. I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. And these are some of the most unattractive things I think a decorator can do on their page. And let me get onto it right now. Is kind of basically throwing a fit and putting things like this up on your page. These don't help. They don't teach anybody anything. Honestly, I don't believe they do. A custom cake client that values that truly wants value, quality, and loves your work is not going to have these lectures given to them. These are lectures. They're cute. We all like them. But they're lectures. You're basically kind of having a fit on your page, in my opinion. I keep my page upbeat and positive. Here's an example of my page. I put fun stuff, you know, I share messages back from my clients that say, you know, that compliment the cake. I want people to see that my work was appreciated and I did a good job. And that begins from the moment somebody contacts me all the way through delivery. Like I said at the beginning, it's yes, ma'am, it's yes, sir, it's thank you for contacting me, it's what else can I do to help you? You know, it's the whole package. And it's how you react on social media, too. I don't whine on my page. I do not care if somebody doesn't get back to me when they ask for a cake quote. You know, I leave it open to them. If they want it, then they will contact me. And if they need more explanation or, you know, hey, why is this going to cost so much? I am so more than happy to explain that. What I don't do is throw something back like this at them. It's unattractive. Let's see. Twitter updates. I can't say that I do a whole lot of Twitter, but again, same principle. Positive, upbeat, what you're doing, you know, your projects that are upcoming. Not, gosh, I wish people understood why my cakes cost this much, or gosh, somebody didn't go through with their order again. You know, it's negative stuff like that. And if you find that you're having that more often than you're having good experiences with your clients, there's a bigger issue at hand, much bigger. I do not have that problem. I can say that 100%. I do not have those issues. I don't have any complaining to do. I picked out who I want to work for. I appeal to them. That's who I work for. But I also don't treat anybody any differently when they contact me. If somebody from one of those yard sale sites, like Shannon was talking about, or Jennifer, or I forget now who, you know, I can tell when a customer is coming from there, and it's okay. You know, they get the same treatment. Yes, ma'am, thank you for contacting me. It's just that simple. For one thing, you never know if they have a relative or a friend who absolutely would like to engage your services someday. And the way you treated them, what are they going to say when somebody asks about you? Yeah, I couldn't afford them, but, you know, they were nice. They helped me out. Sure. That's my goal with people like that. You know, there's always a chance to make an impression with anybody that contacts you. And dang it, do your best to leave the best impression you can, you know. Make it a game if you have to. You know, what can I do to be the nicest as possible in this situation? Now I just look at it that way. Put your best face forward, and you know, be the business. You know, be the business that you want to be treated as. And you know, the more work you put in that way, the more you can class it up. The more you're going to get treated classy as well. You know, appeal to the people that you want to sell to. And that's it. Don't worry about anybody else. And on social media, positive, upbeat, interesting updates. Don't ever whine on your page. It's just so unattractive. Just cannot even begin.
Turn off. It's thanks for that, Jamie. I just want to chime in on that because A lot of times, people just say, oh, this customer was late picking up a cake, and I just want to blast it out there that if you're going to be late picking up a cake, I'm going to start charging you. Well, another person I saw said, someone didn't pick up their anniversary cake, and it's supposed to be my fault. I just want to tell everybody, you know, here's my thought about all that. You know how you got your professional face, and then you got your hanging with your girlfriend's face, and then you got your hanging with your homeboy's face, and then we've got all of these different sides to us, and I'm all of those and then some. I believe when you're conducting business, people want to only deal with your business side. They don't want to know that you had a hard day, that your kids drove you up a wall that day, that the last customer who ordered that particular cake cheated you some of the money they owed you. Nobody cares. It's business, and your customer doesn't care either. They just want what they came you for. So, and they don't want to know that you're having drama in your business. And if you're posting that on your Facebook page, on your website, then they're like, ooh, she got a lot of drama. And who wants to deal with that? I don't particularly like dealing with that. So anyway, don't do it. Oh, and then well, first let me apologize because we lost Kristin. Kristin, I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. We lost her. She's unable to get back on. But don't worry, we're going to have Kristin back on another episode if she can't figure out how to join us. But she did have to leave early anyway today, so I don't know that we're going to be able to see her. We have some questions. So someone says, Candace. Oh, hi, Candace. Lennon. Let me select her question. And she says, I haven't had this problem yet, but I've seen it on other business pages. But how do you handle customer complaints on your page? Do you address it there in full, or do you apologize and say you'll contact them in private? Keep it there or delete it? Well, from my understanding on Facebook, that if someone types a review, if your review section is open, I don't believe you can delete individual reviews. You have to they have to be up with all the other reviews. If someone's posting an actual post or comment on your page, you have every right to delete any of that you want to delete. Yes, and please do, because nobody needs, if the customer doesn't want to be blasted, neither do we. Okay? We're all human beings behind our business thing. Yes. My kids still make me scream. I'm a human being. So I don't need my faults, just like a customer doesn't need their faults broadcasted for the rest of the world to see. Those sort of things need to be kept private. So I really like your response, Candace, about apologizing and that you'll contact them in private. If they want to keep posting negative and you're going to handle me right here, if they want to be irate, don't respond. Delete. You can even ban people from your Facebook page, okay?
At least 5 times a day.
As Jamie does all the time. So, no, I think all correspondence with actual clients and customers need to be kept private. That does not need to be shared on your Facebook page, on your website, or anything like that. Does anybody have anything else, another suggestion for Candace? Nope, we're good. That answers that?
That's good.
Amen.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, well, let's move on. Well, Kristin, actually I want to keep talking, too, about how to deal with customers in a professional way. And this kind of goes back to what Shannon was talking about, how the customer is just uneducated to how much a custom cake costs, okay? So they are thinking, and I will admit, before I started cakes, I thought all cakes cost $29.99 from the grocery store. I had no idea. Which is why I started cake decorating, because when I did ask about that specialty cake my daughter wanted, and I found out the price tag on that, my mouth, yeah, I don't know that I can afford that, so I started making cakes myself. I now understand why they cost that much, because of the time involved. not everybody's going to know that. And instead of getting irritated, don't these people know she wanted a 5-tier cake and 2 dozen cupcakes and cake pops for $200? These people. I bet you that person has no clue. And when they sat down and do their budget for their wedding or their party, they had no clue how to even price or put a budget amount for that particular cake they want. So, as Jamie would suggest, put on your smiley face. And what would you tell them, Jamie? So I'm the customer.
I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you.
I'm calling Jamie. Ring, ring, ring. Jamie, hi, I saw your cakes online. Oh my gosh, you do amazing cakes. I need a cake for my child. Her birthday's in 3 weeks, and I'm thinking about 50 people, and I want this rainbow that shoots off the cake and spins around the cake with a couple little edible people, and I got very specific people I want you to do. Can you make her look like this? And yeah, and I got $150.
Oh, well. Okay, now I'll start the call. See, I react like that in my mind, not out loud. So, my goodness, thank you for contacting me. That sounds like a wonderful project. If you haven't reviewed my website already, my basic pricing is listed there. But based on what you described to me, it sounds like a project like that's going to start probably around $350. Unfortunately, $100 is probably not going to cover all that detailing.
But that's all I have. I've got to pay for the venue, and I got to pay for the food, and it's just cake after all. So. I'm sure you can do it for $100, right?
Oh, unfortunately, I can't. I understand. All those things add up, and it gets expensive. Would you be interested in a smaller design? And maybe, well, let's see here. No. I would probably say, would you be interested in a smaller cake, perhaps, and you could make some cupcakes at home? Everybody appreciates some homemade stuff too, and you can make a nice dessert spread where the cake is the center of attention. Your cupcakes are on both sides. I can show you some ideas on Pinterest that might interest you.
Oh, but I don't bake. I don't do all that. Well, all I honestly, maybe I can come up with $200. What can you do for $200? What can I get from you for $200?
Well, I can definitely do something for you for $200. As I mentioned on the website, my minimum order is $150. If you have $200, we can definitely do something. I can prepare some sketches if you'd like to make an appointment, and I can show you an idea that I could put together with yours that would be more suitable for your budget. What do you think?
What does that mean? An appointment? What do I have to do?
Well, I like to have my clients come in and sit down where we can look each other in the eye and get to know each other. Like to show you some of my previous work, and we can also go over the order details at that time and collect payment and get details as far as the venue location for delivery, what flavors you would like. We can certainly take care of all of it online or on the phone as well.
Oh, I got to pay you first?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Unfortunately, well, Dad, there's a good one. Don't say unfortunately. Never apologize for any of your policies. Caught myself right there. So back to the call. Yes, ma'am. Payment is due in full before any project is started. And that way you're not having to keep track of money that's due to vendors that day of your event. It's all taken care of. I just show up, deliver your cake, and on with the party you go.
Well, I had your cake once at so-and-so's party, and it was really good, and I really love your work. So, you know what? Yes, can we schedule an appointment? Because I really want you to make a cake, and whatever you can do, I just know it's going to be gorgeous.
Oh, well, I would be happy to help with that, ma'am. What is your schedule like? I'm available on yada, 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 yada days. There we go.
Awesome sauce. You can handle that, chickie. Does anybody else have any things they want to say? Hopefully, Jennifer.
Agree with everything that you said. Just reiterate your policies and keep it professional and leave them with a good taste in their mouth that they can come back later. And if I always leave it with, I'm sorry, you know, I would love to design a cake for you in the future.
Yes, policies. I have actually on my website, I have a policy page. I think I spell it out pretty well as to what is expected of you, the customer, and what you'll be getting from me, the cake designer. So maybe if you do have a website that you make it very clear how to just spell out what is expected. There was someone in one of the groups today asked about, you know, how do you deal with spending so much time sketching out designs and quoting prices, get customers that throw all these cakes at you, and how much does this cost, and how much does that cost, and you actually spend a lot of time looking at all of these pictures they send you and trying to decipher, okay, that's going to take that much, that's going to take, and you probably will have sat there for at least an hour before you looked up and realized that you had been Google searching cake ideas for them, or looking up whatever that information they did give you, and before you know it, literally you have spent an hour thinking about a potential customer. They're not even a customer yet because they haven't paid you. And so what I say to that is, stop, don't do that. When someone calls, you can, so when someone calls, you just simply say, would love to design a cake for you. Please take a look at my pricing policy page and get back to me as to which cake you have or which price point that you want to start at, and we can set up a design consult. I need X amount of money retainer, non-refundable retainer, before we can get started, before these sketches are drawn. And if you would like to set up a design consult, please charge for that, because they can take your design and give it to some other designer who's going to do it for half the price. And you didn't spend how many hours designing that cake for free, and then you send them a sketch?
Yeah, don't ever give a sketch out without your retainer.
Yeah,
just don't do
never.
it.
Don't do it. I've done it, guys.
Yeah, I have to.
And I kick myself every time when I've done that, and I've decided I'm not doing that anymore. And let me give you an example. There is a cake designer in LA, and she's actually really popular, and she's really good. She spent a great amount of time designing a cake. I had that customer who got her to do the design, and I don't know that she paid her. I doubt it.
Oh, no.
Sends me that design, and it had her logo on it, so I knew exactly who designed that cake. I was flabbergasted. I wanted to call her and be like, you know she's shopping around your cake sketch, right? Because I hope you got paid for that. If anybody wants to have me sketch, they're going to pay me first. So if they don't choose me, I've gotten paid for that work. Mm-hmm. Whether I get to make that cake now, that's really not up to me. But as Jamie said in the last program, get a retainer from people that's going to hurt them to walk away from.
Yeah.
So they paid me 50% of $500. They're not walking away from me actually making that cake for them. They're going to stick with me.
And it's no different from any other business. You know, if you hire an interior designer, they're not going to come in and show you all of their ideas without knowing that you have paid them some money for that exact reason. You're not going to hire an architect and have them, you know, give you blueprints for a house without having to pay money down. So it's no different than any other business, and we need to start taking cake business as seriously as you take any other business.
Yeah, my daughter's a photographer, and they don't release images without being paid. You know, you have to protect your intellectual property. Your design is your intellectual property.
Yeah.
Agreed. So we have someone.
I wanted to.
Oh, go ahead, Jamie.
I wanted to highlight one more thing. You know, how you mentioned about having a policy page and having a list of, you know, what's going to be expected of the customer and what they can expect in return from the decorator. You know, you can put all that stuff on your website and your about page, but you also need to be prepared to have people completely ignore it too, and have the patience to explain that stuff. Real quick, one of my absolute favorite clients in the whole world to work with, she drove me up a wall the first time she contacted me with question after question after question. I was like, man, why? It sounds like she just doesn't trust anybody. Long story short, come to find out, You know, she got a cake from somebody she thought she was really good in another town. She comes into my town every year for various events, you know, whatever. And she had a really bad experience. And, you know, rather than get upset with her at asking all these questions that should have been obvious, you know, I patiently explained them. You know, I took some time. And I've been working for her for 5 years now. You know, a little patience, you know. Take the time. Help people. That's what our job is.
Well, but I do want to say this, though, about that, Jamie.
There's a but, absolutely.
You need to take time on the initial phone call or the initial email to sort of find out what they need and find out if there's an initial match. That is time invested into your business.
Yep.
I do believe that you don't need to spend any time doing the customer's work. So if they say, I need a cake, I don't know what I'm doing, and now you're finding that you're spending a lot of time in back and forth email messages about, well, what's your theme, what's that? You are now working for that customer, and they need to pay you for that. So if they come to you, I don't know what to do, I like you, then you say, pay me, and let's get started. Don't do all of that work without getting paid. So there is a fine line, ladies, yes, a fine line between doing the initial work you need to do to win over the client without doing the work for the client. Yes?
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
This just starts to become second nature after a while, too. You know, I forget that when we're having these conversations. You know, sometimes they're very kind of like duh stuff, and after a while it just becomes kind of second nature, and you get that sixth sense about people, and you develop that the right way with enough practice, and you're not ever going to be wrong.
You know,
I have actually had. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Jen.
I actually had an experience where, even though my pricing, my beginning pricing is listed on my website, someone came in for a tasting and everything and wanted a 5-tier cake, and I priced it out, and they said, but I'm only having 100 guests. I said, but that's 208 servings of cake. And they said, but it's per serving, and only 100 people are going to eat it. Like, she really thought it was per guest. And I guess it had never occurred to me that anyone would read it that way, that anyone would think when they're doing the math in their head, they say, my guest count's 100, my guest count's 110. They're going to multiply your base price by their guest count, not taking into consideration that you might not be able to hit their guest count. You're usually going to overshoot it, you know, and they don't understand that it's a fixed number of servings in every tier.
Yeah.
Yes, let's get back to that. Don't go giving away free cake, people.
Absolutely.
They want a 5-tier cake. They're going to pay for every slice of cake, standard slice of cake that is in that cake.
Yeah.
Not as
Jennifer said. I just wanted to add something when it came to phone conversations and emails. I know that when you're first starting out, how you get really nervous to be on the phone with clients. Something I did was I actually wrote down a little script of what I was going to say so that when I took a phone call, I had it just basically written out, because I was afraid I was going to get flustered and I was going to forget something, and so I had it out. And then, you know, like Jamie said, it becomes second nature. But when you're first starting out and you're afraid that you're going to forget something or you're not going to say the right things, give yourself a cheat sheet. You know, have a little phone call cheat sheet written out in front of you so that you know exactly what to say, and just read straight from it and answer any questions they have after that. But you can have your basics down on that cheat sheet, and that might help you out.
And I wanted to add to that, too, very good suggestion. I found, too, I would get on the phone. Matter of fact, I hate when people call me on the phone. Oh, I'd rather them email me.
Me too.
But what I'll say is, and why do I like email? Because there is a continuous history of conversation. So if you type the birthday kid's name wrong, that's on you.
Yeah.
Okay, but on phone calls, they want to get a price right away. And you just start throwing out prices, and then you actually sit and, you know, figure out the cake, and you realize, oh my God, I underpriced. Don't get caught doing that, people. It's okay if you say, great, I have all the information that I need. Let me get back to you. may I get back to you via email? I would prefer to transfer this conversation onto email so I have a written documentation of our information.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with saying that. And if they really want, I say that because you want to nail that sale right now. You want to get that money right now. And you're afraid if you hang up, you're going to lose them. Well, yeah, you might.
To serve you and to keep consistency and to make sure we're all on the same page, I would like written correspondence, something like that.
Well, and if they can't wait for 2 hours to go by, then they're shopping around anyway, and it's probably not your client.
Yep.
Exactly. I have someone who left. I don't know her name. It's Overfelt97. She says she's seen this happen on 2 pages. Other decorators posting on their page. Saying, I can give you a cheaper cake then. To me, that is rude and unprofessional. You don't go to other business pages to advertise or steal customers. What do anyone want to say anything to that? Delete and ban?
To me, that is rude and unfair. You don't go other business pages to advertise or steal customers. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Delete and ban. Goodbye.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Don't even reply.
Delete and ban them, people. It's your page.
That's right.
Your page. You do what you want. Okay, we have someone else. Monica Gonzalez says, with that in mind, how do you price a sculpted cake? I have done a few, but not enough to really know how to price them. I'm assuming the price would be determined by the amount of servings the original sheet cake or whatever would serve before carving. Jamie, you want to answer?
Yes and no. I don't do a whole lot of carved cakes. Maybe somebody else wants to take it, but that's not an always set in stone method for me.
Jen?
Maybe.
I do a good amount of sculpted cakes, and when I first started doing them, I tried to price it the way that she's laid out there, and it really didn't work all that great. I do use that as a base to give them an idea of a range of servings that they might get from it, but honestly, sculpting cakes is going to be a learning experience, and so a lot of the time you're just going to have to know your own abilities and the amount of time it's going to take you to do something. Very frequently, you get into the middle of one and you'll go, I undercharged, I overcharged, I got to keep that in mind for next time. It really is based on the design, and the more that you do, the more you're going to know your own pace, your own skill set. And I wish I had a better formula for you, but I can kind of look at what someone wants now and know how long it's going to take me. I know how much I got to start with my ingredients, and I just base it out from there. But it is a learning curve.
Anyone else want to jump in? Hi, Kristin. Kristin's back.
Hi, Kristin.
Yay!
Shannon, did you have anything to add to the carved cake?
No, I think it's what Jennifer said. I think a lot of them, once you've done a few of them, then you kind of know, okay, it's going to take me approximately this long. I'm going to need approximately this much support. Carved cakes are different. It's definitely a per challenge pricing.
Exactly. I just want to say, too, I've had my own sister wanted an ET cake for her son, but it was really just going to be like literally 8 of us at the dinner, but he wanted ET. So I said, well, I can make ET as small as possible, but the price is still going to be the same.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So on my policy page, I do have a minimum for certain designed cakes, and that is one of them. So you're paying the minimum even if you wanted to serve 2 people. Like Jennifer said before, you only have 100 people to eat it, but you ordered a 300 serving cake. You're still paying for 300 servings of cake.
That's
You're
right.
still paying for the time involved for a structured cake. So as far as the thing about carved cakes too, you should always say to your customers, this is an approximate amount of servings you will get from this cake. You can't guarantee serving counts on carved cakes.
It's actually on my contract that I cannot guarantee a specific serving count for sculpted cakes.
No, you
I actually
can't.
say it on all of my cakes. not even sculpted.
Well, yeah, because it depends on who's cutting it.
Yep.
Oh, that's it. That's good to know too, Kristen. So you just, in your contract, you let it be known. How do you word that exactly, if you don't mind?
Oh, I don't know if I
gotta
remember.
check out. I gotta take my husband to the airport. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie.
All right.
Jamie.
Sorry. Bye-bye.
Well, we are at an hour, so I kind of want, if you guys have a few more minutes, I wanted to have Kristen, since she left, so I couldn't get back on.
If I may, I am truly sorry. I love my time with you, but I actually have a design consult, so I need
to she has to go work, guys. Thanks, Jen.
Nice to hear. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of it.
Well, I appreciate it. Okay, Shannon, are you hanging with us for a few more minutes?
I'm hanging. I'm here.
Yay. Okay, and then we're going to end our session for the day. So just a few more minutes. One of the things that we wanted Kristen to talk about was this whole copying designs. I think Shannon wanted to get on this conversation too. There's this going around like you can't copy somebody's design out there. So what are your take on that, Kristen?
With the quick thing with copying designs, for me personally, I don't see myself as an artist. My degree's in math. I'm very kind of architectural when I'm putting a cake together. So for me, I love it when a customer sends me a picture or several pictures of existing cakes. And, I definitely go over, do you want to change anything, colors, do you want to add a bow here, do you want to do this, do you want to do that? But in the end, if that's what they want, that's what they want, and I'm more than happy to try to do that cake justice for them. I don't have, especially when a lot of the cakes, polka dots and stripes and, bows, there's only so many ways you can combine that, and people have been doing that for years. So even if they send you a cake that's Ann Heap's, because she does a lot of that stuff, I'm not going to ask her, can I put the same color polka dots on my cake? I have had people contact me about a couple of my, or quote-unquote original designs, ask if they could replicate it. Of course, I said yes. I guess my one exception would be if somebody had a very specific cake that everybody knew who did it, that it was very unique to that person, I'd probably ask them to replicate it. But if it was all right. But even with replicating, I can't even replicate my own stuff perfectly, let alone replicating someone else's stuff perfectly. I mean, sure, you can say, man, that looks a lot like this, but it's not going to be an exact replica. If you do a design that is commonly known, that's attributed to somebody, I always give them, the nod on Facebook and say, oh, the client sent me this picture, and they may have been the 18th person that did it. But at least that's the picture that the customer sent me. So I definitely try to attribute it when I can, but I don't typically ask for permission on most cakes. I have called or contacted some designers when I knew that it was their cake to ask them a question or two about what they had used on their cake so that I could purchase the tool or whatever to try to get it a little bit closer. But like I said, I haven't really contacted anybody to ask to replicate it. I was pretty excited. There was one cake that I did use quite a bit as inspiration and posted. It was inspired by the cake dress, who I absolutely love, and she retweeted it. So I was all excited about that and felt like I had arrived. And it definitely was far from being a replica of hers, because I didn't know how she had done her flowers, but it was definitely, similar to hers, hopefully, at least enough that people recognized it. I know the other thing that...
Shout out, right, about that, though, Kristen? You did say, did you mention her when you posted
yeah.
the cake?
Oh, yeah, I definitely said, this was inspired by one of the cake dresses, awesome cakes. I could never live up to her standards, but, hopefully I did it enough justice that the client was happy with it, which she was. And obviously the cake dress thought it was good enough for her to share, so she wasn't angry about it, at least that I was aware of. I wouldn't share something that I was angry about anyway. I know the other big thing that comes up a lot, it's not really with replicating designs. Like I said, in the end, I just want to make the client happy, and I guess I kind of go with the rule of thumb is even if somebody really wanted a cake that was done by Ann Heap, I'm several hours away from Ann Heap, and I really highly doubt she's going to come down here to make that cake for that customer, and you know, I doubt that customer is going to go all the way up there to get a cake from her. So you know, it's just kind of another food for thought. But the thing that kind of is really not right is you know, having other people's cake pictures on your website. That's a big one that kind of irks me. I know there was a lady in my own town who had done that. She had posted a whole bunch of cakes that I recognized from online and had them on her website, and I knew she hadn't done them. So don't do that. Make up those dummy cakes and put them on your initial web page. And same thing goes with Facebook. If you like someone's work on Facebook and want to share their picture, definitely share it from their page directly and tag them so that people know that you didn't do them. There's another lady in town who constantly, you know, picks a picture off of the internet and shares it. I know it's not hers, but she doesn't specifically say that when she posts on her Facebook page. So she's a bit sneaky. She doesn't say she didn't do it, but she didn't say she did do it either.
Well, it's all misleading, though, Kristen. I mean, like,
yes.
You know, if you're going to post these pictures and you're not going to be clear that someone else did it, and you're kind of vaguely making it look like you did it, and then your potential customer's like, I want that cake. Well, you did it, you know, and then they get what you can actually do, and it's just doesn't match up. It doesn't. Your skill level might not even be what you posted. So it's just misleading, and we don't, you know, it goes back to the professionalism. We're not going to be misleading.
Yep.
Shannon, what are your thoughts about the whole copying cakes designs?
You know, you cannot copyright a technique. All techniques are open game, you know, and so I always give credit. If I take inspiration from someone else's, I always give credit, just because I think it creates the warm, fuzzy feelings in the cake community, and like Kristen was saying, then you have the opportunity to kind of bond over that cake with someone. And I've had several people ask me if they can replicate my designs. I have always said yes. Sometimes I share them, you know, and so I think it does. It kind of builds a camaraderie. The only time I have a problem with somebody replicating a cake is if it's for a magazine. If it's not your design and somebody wants you to replicate somebody else's cake for a publication, I have a problem with that, because I just don't think it's right. You shouldn't be, they're not going to mention who the original designer was. Most likely, if you liked that cake well enough and it was on Pinterest, then it was already published. And so I feel like published works should not be recreated for other published works. That's the only time.
I think there's some limitation with that, though. You know, obviously textured buttercream, at least in my area, is one thing that's super popular. So it has to be a specific design, I think, is kind of what you're getting at, Shannon.
Yes, a very specific design, not, you know, like you said, a textured buttercream or ruffles, like I said, you cannot copyright a technique. So
just be nice out there, you know. If you learned, and this goes back to like tutorials and stuff. If you've learned a technique from a tutorial, especially a paid one, you know, don't just give out that information or redo another tutorial exactly like the tutorial that you paid for and put it up there for free, and or you know, I always say, you know, if you have a different spin on something, then yeah, you have a different spin on it. I think one of the things that I'm going around with cake designers is somebody thinks they invented the wheel every now and then, and if you really did some research, you'll find out so-and-so way back in the early 70s did that already. So yes, some people have a little more branding behind their name, and so they'll have a little more following. But that doesn't mean that someone who doesn't have as much following didn't maybe come up with something that maybe you came up with that they actually didn't see your tutorial on. So let's just be nice out there, I guess. And if you have learned something, just credit the person that you learned it from. If you do know the designer that you are replicating the cake for, it's just always nice to say, inspired by so-and-so. You know, those are just nice things. But I actually agree with Kristen that, you know, if a client comes to me with, can you do this cake? I'm going to do that cake. I'm just going to do it because for a couple reasons. One, half my job is done. I don't have to spend the hours doing the design work. Now I can say, great, I can do the cake. Let's get the price, let's get paid, and then I can just file that order away for when it's time to get started on doing it. So there's nothing wrong with copying. I'm actually flattered. I've had a couple of cakes copied, and it actually is flattering, actually. I actually designed a cake that someone else thought was great, another customer thought was great, so.
Well, and really, what are you going to do? If somebody copies your work, are you going to have a hissy fit on your page and say, that was my cake, I can't believe they copied it? Or are you going to look at it as, wow, okay, well, there's a design that people really liked and they redid it. So, I mean, you can look at it in two ways, and which way is going to reflect best on you?
Professionally.
And it's not like you could have done it for them if they're across the country.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Well, ladies, this has been great. I know we could probably talk for hours, but we lost half of our panel, so I guess it's time to say goodbye. Thanks so much, Shannon, for joining today. Really appreciate it. And thanks for jumping back in, Kristen. I'm sorry you missed most of the show. Really appreciate it.
The blue screen of death. It's not good.
Well, again, we're going to do more of these roundtables on different subjects, so if you have a subject that you want us to tackle or talk about, please let us know. You can find me at sifbykara.com, on my Facebook, sifbykara. Any one of the panelists, let us know what you want to talk about, and we'll jump back on and talk about it. We really appreciate you joining us today. Until next time, happy caking! Bye, everyone.
Bye.